The way it sort of came about was the book was excerpted in Vanity Fair, and I was reading Vanity Fair one day, and read the excerpt, which was, I had originally just thought it was an article, and then at the end, it sort of says excerpted from the upcoming book Truth and Duty, by Mary Mapes, and I just was sort of, the story sort of captured me in a way that was. I'd been looking for something to direct for a while. I really wanted to make that transition, and I'd always been fascinated with journalism. And if I hadn't gone into my silly business, I would have gone into tried to go into journalism. And so I knew about what had happened. I'd heard about the story, and I hadn't seen the original story when it aired on 60 Minutes, but I'd heard about obviously the fallout, and because it was a big national story. And then I read the excerpt, and then after that I immediately got Mary's book and read Mary's book, and was just it was such an amazing story, and there was so much of it that I didn't know, and I felt like there was so much of it that people didn't know. And that really attracted me, and also just the idea of being able to go inside of a major news magazine and see how stories are put together, just in general, not just this story, but how the sausage is made, and kind of stepping behind the curtain was really exciting to me. I mean, we were incredibly lucky that they both responded. Cate was, very. I wish I could say what a brilliant out-of-the-box choice, but I mean, she's the actor of her generation, so it was a no-brainer to sort of for me to try and get her to do it. And we sent the script to her agent, and she read it and responded to it. And we actually sent it to her. Cate got the script the day after she won the Academy Award, which was I thought meant we had no chance because the last thing you do, in my mind, after you win an Academy Award is work with a first-time director. But she read the script, she really responded to it, and we had a conversation about approach and how she saw it and how I saw it, and she signed on to the movie, and we were incredibly lucky. And then with Robert Redford, I had known him a little bit. I'd written a script years before that he was going to direct, and so I knew him a bit. And I wrote Dan for him. I always sort of thought that there's something, the idea of a legend playing a legend really sort of appealed to me because, Bob and Dan both sort of occupy that place in culture of that sort of that emeritus status almost. And so I loved the idea of casting him, but I knew that his first question would be, once he read the script, who's Mary going to be? So I waited until we had Cate, and then I sent him the script, and I sent him a long letter of why, he would be amazing in the role, and he read it, and he said, I'm in. There's a lot of it that's close, and there's a lot of it. The book is a memoir, actually. So the book actually covers, the first half of the book is great, and people should please go out and buy it and read it. It's wonderful because it covers Mary's 20 years in journalism before this incident happened. And just because of the interest of time and the constraints of film, I knew that sort of we weren't going to have time for that. So I really wanted the movie to focus in on this story and how it got put together, and have the time to kind of take the audience through that and have them experience the excitement of putting a story together. Because I think one of the really fun things about the movie is you get to be on that journey of being a reporter and chasing down leads and nailing down facts and running up against deadline. And there's a thrill to that. There's an excitement to it that we don't always think about as the people who watch news or sort of the consumers of stuff that we get. So that was really important for me to focus in on that period and that portion of the book and tell that story. First and foremost, I hope they're entertained by it and enjoy it because I think it's a really great story. I think it's a very emotional story, and that's something that was really important to me, to kind of capture the journey of this woman and what she goes through, and then also the journey of Dan Rather and kind of the end of an era, the idea of the, for lack of a better term, it's sort of the fall of a king in a way, and so that first and foremost is really the thing. I hope people enjoy it and they enjoy that ride. And secondarily, I think that there is, we're at a very interesting place culturally in terms of our media and where our information comes from and how we get it and how we consume it. It's so different now than it even was 10 years ago when the story takes place. Of nobody was walking around with iPhones in their pocket. There was an amazing thing on set when we had the old Nokia phones and it rang, and it was that sort of sing song, and everybody kind of went, oh, I remember that. Like, it just sort of, I mean, nostalgic for a phone from 9 years ago, but things have changed so much, and so what would be wonderful is, and I've seen kind of happen, is people come out of the movie and disagree about, well, I mean, clearly this happened, or clearly, you know, she should have been fired, or no, how could you say that? And just actually seeing people have a conversation about that, and a conversation about where we are in terms of media would be an amazing thing. It was really wonderful. You know, it was, I had great producing partners on the film, and so, you know, as a producer, I was able to do my job, but also cede stuff to them when I said, look, I have to worry about the actors now, I have to worry about that, you know. I've been a writer for a long time, I pause only because I've heard people like, the veteran screenwriter, and I go, I'm not that old. I mean, not, you know, so that job I'd done, and I knew and well, and I was, you know, and directing was wonderful. It was great. I was blessed with such a cast like this. You know, it's sort of hard to not have a great experience when you're working with people as talented and dedicated as Cate and Bob, and also our supporting of Dennis Quaid, Topher Grace, Elizabeth Moss, Stacy Keach I got to work with, which was incredible. Dermot Mulroney, John Benjamin Hickey, all of these wonderful pros, you know, who've been, you know, I think Lizzie Moss was like the least experienced of our actors, and she's been on TV for, you know, she's been on 2 different TV shows that have run 7 years. So it was just an incredible gift to me. The great thing about Robert Redford is he's the guy you want him to be when you meet him, and that doesn't always happen with you know, sort of legendary people, but he's the Robert Redford you want him to be, and that's a pretty amazing thing. Watching them meet too was really interesting, because Bob was so excited she was going to be in the movie, and he goes, oh, that Elizabeth Moss is great, and I would tell her, because Redford didn't start till about 3 weeks into the movie, so everybody was there and got to know each other before he came down, and it was sort of like, you know, Redford's coming soon. Oh my God, Robert Redford's coming soon. And everybody was, you know, intimidated in a great way. But like the most jaded crew member was like, I can't believe Robert Redford's coming. And Elizabeth Moss talked to him, and she had done a series called Top of the Lake. And when they met, Bob went, oh, I loved you in that show. It was on my channel. And she walked away. She goes, oh my God, that's right. I was on his channel. The man has a channel. Like, you know, he's incredible.